Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the More Money Show. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am here today with Jennifer Hooper, who is, what are you officially calling your title these days?
I'm a holistic health coach.
Holistic health coach. I knew I would miss something. Yeah. I'm excited. Jennifer is a client of mine. We worked together for a year. She did the workshop and we worked together for a year. And I'm excited for her to share her journey with you, just to inspire you and help you remember to keep going and all kinds of fun stuff. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. So tell us a little bit about you, just like Jennifer, and then we'll jump into it.
Well, I'm a holistic health coach. We already covered that. I live in Bangor, Maine, and I have two amazing kids who are learning the law of attraction right along with me. They're 18 and 19. In fact, my younger daughter just moved into a new apartment. The first thing I saw when I walked into it is your book on the coffee table.
Oh,
Manifest $10,000.
What an anchor to
set. Oh, so proud. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Oh, that's so awesome.
So it was pretty great. And she's already figured out, I'm reading the book. And she said $10,000 is a little bit too much for me to grasp. So I've decided to go for $5,000. I'm like, great.
I love
Whatever
it.
feels good to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it all figured out.
That's awesome. We'll keep us posted.
Yeah, I will. In fact, I'll tell you another brief story. She had decided she wanted to work in a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant. So she walked into the one that she wanted to work at, offered to work for the day for free, and she got the job at the end of the shift, which is awesome. But then she couldn't get to her move for a month longer than she had thought. So they said, we can't hire you. And she said, that's okay. Something better is going to come along. Mm-hmm. So she found the second restaurant she wanted. It has a better schedule. They hired her. She makes more money per hour. And it's predictable. So she is so happy. I'm like, I love your attitude. Something better is going to come along. And she just trusted it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Because their mama is like such a good example.
It's nice that they listen.
Yes, right? Well, I think that they listen because you do. And we're going to get into that. And I don't mean do a bunch of stuff, but you live and behave and act in the way that exemplifies like what you're telling them to do. So I would say, I don't even know if they actually listen, but I think they've watched, right? Which is key, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because if I just said the words but didn't do the work, they wouldn't hear it at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
Cool. All right. So I always like to ask this question just because I get curious and I think it's an inspired path. Do you remember how we connected originally?
Well,
or you found me, or however you want to say it.
No idea.
I love
it. I don't know. I just remember I started getting emails from you. I don't know who this woman is. I must have signed up somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where. I don't remember why. I don't know what inspired me. And then over time, I thought, well, this chick's pretty cool. Legit. So I scheduled a call with you before a workshop and we had a conversation.
Yeah, I love that because like most of my clients either met me in person or they somehow just, I love the randomness, right? Like it's so like, I don't remember how I got in there, but somehow I did.
Yeah.
So I love it. Oh, so fun. So tell me, like, where were you before we got on the phone? What was going on? How were you using the law of attraction? What were you struggling with? How'd you feel?
I had learned about the law of attraction years before talking to you. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to believe it, but I wasn't certain I believed it. And so it started when I watched The Secret, and then What the Bleep Do We Know, and found Abraham Hicks, and went to see Mike Dooley. And I remember thinking, if this is true, this is really awesome. But it was that doubt that got in my way. Mm-hmm. So when I decided what I wanted, and when I would work on manifesting, I wasn't always successful because I didn't trust myself. I felt doubtful. And so I didn't keep my energy steady. So I had like starts and stops mm-hmm. constantly.
Yeah. Where you'd like start doing some sort of manifesting work and then just stop it altogether.
Right. Because I didn't see success. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, this isn't working. Yeah. But of course, when I say this isn't working, it's not going to work.
Right. Yeah.
But something inside me really trusted that it could work. Mm-hmm. So I kept going, even though I wasn't doing it well. I still believed in the law of attraction.
I love it. That's so exciting. And then, and I love this question too, because what made you say yes to, because I think learning more, maybe you thought you were saying yes to learning more. But what made you say, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the workshop. I'm going to jump in.
Because the workshop, see, at that time I was very concerned about price and money and lack. Mm-hmm. But the workshop was something I could do. And I thought, well, if it doesn't work out, I haven't lost that much. I haven't, I can afford to take this risk, is how I decided to take the workshop.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I needed help, and I knew I needed help.
Yeah.
And I thought I don't have very much to lose here.
Yeah. How did you know that you needed help?
Because I wasn't successful. Because I wasn't getting what I wanted.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's simple. I love it. That's cool. And just, I don't know, real quick, like what was your life was good, but you weren't sitting in we'll get to this house in a little bit. But like, it was good. It was, how would you describe it? Would you say fine, okay, good?
It was fine. I had a fine life. I have a great family and great kids, and I'd survived a divorce and had come out feeling okay about it. So it was fine. Mm-hmm. It was fine. I had a job that was secure. I didn't love it, but it paid my bills, and it was fine.
Yeah. How would you describe your life now?
I was thinking about that this morning, and it just keeps getting better and better. Mm-hmm. And I feel so fortunate because I've learned to surround myself with things that keep my energy up. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you the last time I ever felt down or sad or frustrated, which is in contrast to what my life used to be, which had some ups and downs, some frustrations and disappointments and things like that. But I've surrounded myself with people who believe what I believe in really amazing ways. One example is, someone you had on your radio show a couple weeks ago, Lynn Owens. We worked with you together at the same time. We have an ongoing friendship now. We check in with each other a couple times a week, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. I've created a mastermind women's abundance group in my local area, and we meet once a month and share how awesome we are and what's going on in our lives. That's great. I can have these
Yes.
conversations with my kids. This is what I'm doing. Oh, this is what I'm doing. And, oh, I manifested this today. And all of those things are just, filling my headspace with better and better and better.
Yes.
And so more and more and more is unfolding.
I love it. And I love especially because one of my next questions on my list, you're kind of leading into, you're like, I'm leading an abundance mastermind, right? And you this is your words. You used to worry about money, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Say more. I know it's probably hard to remember because it's so not you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I just always worried about not having enough, whether I had enough or not. It was, I hate to say it's how I was raised, because it's not necessarily what my parents told me, but they always had a money concern, it seems like, of some kind, whether it was taxes or, my dad was a real estate appraiser that had an inconsistent income. So it was feast or famine.
Right.
So when it was famine, there was a worry in the house. And then I was married to a man who always worried about money. And so that influenced me as well. And we had plenty of money, but there was always a worry that we didn't have enough. Then I got divorced and I didn't have a job, and I literally didn't have any money. I had no money. I remember a time when I was at Walmart, because that was the most affordable place I could shop. And I was with my kids, and they wanted me to buy them some fluoride rinse, which had always been a part of their lives. And it was something like $2.37. And I had to say no. I just don't have enough money in my checking account right now. And so those experiences at the time kind of reinforced the fact that I didn't have money.
Yeah.
And reinforced the worry.
Right?
Yeah. And now I really don't, I don't think about it at all. Working with you really trained me out of it. Yeah. And even at times when there doesn't appear to be a lot, I'm kind of like, oh, well, it's all going to work itself out. Because it always has. Right. Like, I've never been on the street. I've never not had enough food to eat. I've never had clothes on my back or gas for my car. Things somehow just always work out. And I finally began to trust that.
I love it. Cause that's in stark contrast. Like, if this were a movie, I'd flash back to the words that you used to say, right? Because it's sometimes hard, I think, for people to see, she's so confident. She's just it's whatever. But that, year and a half ago, a year ago, that wasn't always true, right?
Oh, wow. That's not very long ago.
Yeah, I know. It happened really quickly.
I feel like it was 10 years ago I felt that way. Seriously. Because I never have those thoughts anymore.
I love it. That is so exciting.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said, and I think a lot of people do this, is you said, I needed to get out of my own way. I was always getting in my own way. Will you say more about what that looked like in your life?
I worried a lot about the how. If I wanted to accomplish something, my brain would kick into overdrive to figure out how. And it would just spin around and around and around, and I wouldn't go anywhere. And that was self-defeating. I didn't go anywhere. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. What changed that?
Working with you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Yes. And you had to talk me off a cliff a number of times. You always did a good job, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I Jennifer was, and I can relate because that's who I was. And people probably don't believe that, but it was like always thinking like how to make this work. Cause my brain works really well, right? Same as you, like you're super smart. But sometimes well, not sometimes, that's really usually never helpful in the manifesting process.
Yeah.
And so, it was a matter, and I love that you use the word training, because that's exactly what we did. We like trained you out of thinking and
Yes.
into, what would you say? Would you call it allowing? Would you call it just being? Like, what would you call it?
Detachment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have goals of things that I want to attain, and I don't know how, but I am, just trusting the path to get there. Like one decision unfolds to a new insight that might lead to a new opportunity, which leads to something else that I hadn't even thought of or hadn't even considered. And the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, I'm really close to what I wanted. I don't even realize how I got here. It was a little bit of a maze, but now look where I'm standing.
Yes. Oh, I love that you shared that. And I love like that one decision, right? Because I think in your past, it was like, I got to have 100 decisions made before I can do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are always in the back of my head. Cassie would say, just make a decision, because a decision is better than no decision. You're never going to go anywhere. But when you make a decision, it will lead to something else. And you can change your mind. You don't have to stick with that. You like, I made a decision that didn't work. Now I'm going to make a new decision. Right. But I got information in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You reminded me of a question that I think is important, because you had a lot of examples of this, which I love. And so many times, not so many times, but there were a few big times where it looked like you were getting exactly what you asked for, and you're like, it's not right. Like, I remember you wanted to buy, like there was something you wanted to buy. And then there was like moving into a house really early on.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And so I'm not even sure what the question is, but like, how does it feel to be able to really make the decision you want and to say no, even if it looks great, even if it looks like you should? Like, how does that make you a more powerful manifestor?
I think it goes back to what I was just saying about learning something from every decision. Mm-hmm. And it's the unfolding process is fun. I guess right. So I once lived, not that long ago, in my old childhood home with my mother, and it was fine for a while, but it began to not feel good. Mm-hmm. And so that led to me moving out by myself into an apartment, which I loved in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But then it was less than a year where that didn't start to feel good. Mm-hmm. And so I realized that I needed something else. And it has actually led me to the house of my dreams. Mm-hmm. So those experiences were important. I'm not sure I could have gotten from that my childhood home to the home I'm in now if I hadn't made those decisions in the middle.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And said no to things along the way that looked like they were it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So go ahead.
No, I remember when I was looking for an apartment, I looked at a lot of places online. I looked at pictures, I looked at different buildings and stuff like that, but I didn't actually visit any of them because I was not inspired. None of them looked appealing, even if they were the right price range and the right location and the right, like it just didn't, I didn't care to go see them until I found one particular apartment. The pictures weren't that great. It maybe wasn't the best location in the world. I mean, it was fine.
Right.
But I thought, I've got to see that one. That's the one I've got to see. And I did. I met the landlord and I'm like, this feels perfect. I like her. She likes me. It's just the two of us. She was on the second floor. I was on the first floor. And then it was a go. It was a green light because of how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
Totally how it felt.
Absolutely. And then tell us how you manifested your dream home.
Well, that's quite a story. I have lived in this home before.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in this home for 10 years, and this is where I raised my children. And when it was purchased the first time, I was married, and the home was in quite a bad state of disrepair.
Mm-hmm.
It had been neglected for a long time.
Yeah.
And I can't even describe at that time how filthy it was, how there were holes punched in the wall, how children had drawn crayon on so many of the walls. But I saw, like, it was a beautiful home. It's hardwood floors everywhere, brick fireplaces, amazing light fixtures. What it needed was some love and some attention. And so we started to do that. We, repainted everything, we cleaned it, and but it was it was like a 20-year vision. Right. It wasn't something that we could, do all the work all at once. We just didn't have the funds. So anyway, love this house. It was where it was my final destination, because my ex-husband and I, we had moved so many places around the country and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, this is the home where we're going to have Christmases and family reunions, and people are coming back, for parties and family. And all that came crashing to an end when I got divorced. I got divorced, and I was deeded the house, but I could not afford to live here at that time on my own. Mm-hmm. And it was devastating. It was the biggest loss of my life. Well, that's not true. I did not enjoy getting divorced. That was a big loss. But the house was big. It was devastating to me. Anyway, I had to sell it, and it was purchased, and the person who purchased it refinished it from top to bottom, to bottom, inside out. It's gorgeous. It matches. It's the vision that I had. It kind of pales to how it is now. I don't even know how to explain that. So anyway, that was 5 years ago. Literally lost the house. But last January, it was the first day of the year, and I wrote a letter to the current owners, the previous owners, and I said,
following inspiration, right?
Yeah. Yes. I said, I once lived in your home. It was supposed to be my forever home. I hope it's your forever home. But if it's not, I would appreciate it if you give me the first right of refusal. Mm-hmm. And I popped it in the mailbox. I looked up their names. I didn't know who they were. I knew their address. And I didn't hear anything, which I wasn't surprised. And the house at the time, it's like completely out of my price range.
Right.
Yeah. However, 5 months later, it was May, I received a phone call, and I didn't answer it because I don't answer calls that I don't recognize. Mm-hmm. And maybe a day later or later that day, I listened to the message, and this woman introduced herself and said, I got your letter in January, and I want to tell you that this was supposed to be my forever home. This is where I retired. I love it here. My husband and my son are here. I do not want to leave this home. However, we are going to move to Memphis to be closer to my husband's family. Are you interested in the house? I guess I called her back, and she told me all that. And I said, absolutely. Yes, I'd love to come see the house. And she said, is it in your price range? And I said, I think I could work that out. And she said, okay.
And I just want to pause for a second. Would the former Jennifer have said that, had the gall? Because it's in theory, like, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is a $200 more a month, right?
Right. Oh
Like,
no.
this
This
is
was
like
like
a
4
big,
times the number I was paying for my apartment.
yes. So
Yeah.
I just want to highlight what former Jennifer had been like, cool. Yeah. I think I can work it out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And what at that moment, I just wanted to see it. I just
right.
wanted the experience of walking through the house and
Mhm.
seeing everything in person. So
And
I go ahead.
I just want to pause because I want people to hear this. I think that is the biggest, the most impactful and the biggest difference that it made in your life is that you no longer, I think pre-Jennifer, like would have been like, I can't go see it if I can't afford it. And instead of
Yes.
saying yes to what she wanted, which was to just see the house, right?
Yes.
She would have gone down this path trying to figure out how to make it happen. And I'm like, I think maybe would have never gone and saw the house
Probably not.
because she
I
would
think
have
you're
felt
right.
some kind of way
Yeah.
about going to see a house that she,
Yeah.
you know. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I think at that point I called my mom and I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, how would you feel about living at, this house with me?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, why, is it on the market? And I said, nope, but we have an opportunity to go see it. And she says, I could get behind that, because she was living alone
Mm-hmm.
and she had a big house, and she had been thinking since I moved out the first time, what was she going to do? Was she going to downsize or move to another state or go to a retirement community? So she was up and down a lot. So we came to the house. The owners were lovely. They were just beautiful people. They let us traipse around and up and down, and all of these memories just came flooding back. Like, oh my gosh, the dining room. This is where, we had Christmas mornings with the candles around the plate rail. And oh my God, the floors are still just as beautiful as they used to be. And this really touched me is that there's a downstairs bathroom. And years ago, I had put a door knocker on the back of it, and it was a lobster because I'm from Maine, and it was still there. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. And long story short, my mother said, I would love to live there with you. And so between the two of us, we were able to afford this house. And what did I want to say about that? Oh, this is the best part. I think we saw it in May, and we closed on June 9th.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally 42 days from the time we visited the house to when we closed on 2 houses. Because my mom had to list her house, sell her house. We had to empty out her house. She got a full price offer from the best possible buyer.
Mm-hmm.
The universe just paved the way. It just happened seamlessly and so fast. I didn't think we would get in until August or September, to sell my mom's house.
Right.
Because the average time on market was like 4 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It sold in the first weekend.
Of course it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to highlight something because like I'm a big believer, like the reflection is just a universe. The universe is just a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Like you paved the way. So we have a mutual friend, colleague, and she said to me, yeah, I'm going to put this thing I want, this big property I want on my vision board, because if Jennifer can manifest it by putting it on her vision board, then I can do it. And I was like, oh no, Jennifer didn't just stick a picture on her vision board. And so I want you to talk about like the reason that it was so easy. It was 42 days and selling a house quicker. And the reason that the universe paved the way is because you put in the time of being here.
Yes, I did some work.
Yeah, and it wasn't like 10 minutes. It wasn't, and I want to make that apparent to people because oh my gosh. I mean, I call it's work. Like, right. Want to say that the law of attraction isn't work. You were dedicated. You were committed to grow. You were committed to say, this doesn't make sense. I don't get it. It's not working. And you were committed to listening when I said, yeah, it is. Like, look at all this other stuff. You're just seeing right here where it's not working. And like, so I want you to talk about like this, because this, it seems right now, like this is like amazing. I just decided I wanted this house. Right.
Right.
But that's not the whole story. And I think it's important.
Okay. So when I worked with you during our year, I got the idea that I wanted to live in this house long before January, long before I got the inspiration to write the letter.
Right. And I think that's key. I'm actually going to stop you in because I think it's important, because the person who was you, who was sitting there like getting frustrated because it wasn't working, needs to hear this part, right?
Okay.
Like you spent a long time stepping in, and then the inspiration hit like, this is my dream house, right? This is it. And then you just kept in the process until you were inspired to send the letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was earlier, last year, that when we were working together, that I made the decision that I wanted to live in this house. And I remember wanting to live in this house, and I remember scripting about it with you, but I never had told you the backstory. But finally, I feel like there was this moment where I thought, I really have to fess up. Like, Cassie, is it okay? I asked you the question, is it okay to try to manifest a very specific house? There's this house that I love, and I would love to live there. And I remember you saying, sure, that's okay, because it could lead to something better. And I was like, okay, I'll buy that, but I still want this house. So when I scripted every day, well, not every day, but several times a week about living here, I could get very specific about what it would be like to live here, because I had lived here. And I remember getting very detailed about waking up and my feet hitting the hardwood floor and walking into the bathroom and coming downstairs into the dining room and seeing flowers on the dining room table and walking into my amazing kitchen. And I would script about that a lot. And I believe all of that led to that inspiration of writing the letter. I thought, this is a long shot. I'm not trying to force it. But I remember when I wanted to write the letter, or I did write the letter, I asked you, is this forcing the how? Am I trying to figure out how? And you were kind of detached about that. You're like, no, I don't think so. It may work and it may not, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't the how, and I could be because it was the energy you came with. You're like, hey, so I just decided I was going to send this letter, right? Which is really one of the ways we know we're coming from inspiration versus like you coming and being like, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I do it? Right? You sort of just did it. Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. And which is awesome, because you had developed that detachment that you talked about in the beginning of our interview. Where you could send that letter and be okay because you were happy in your script. Like no matter what, whether it was this house and this amazing story, it was going to be an amazing house and an amazing experience with flowers on the table and the pocket doors in your office and just beauty all around, right? Yeah.
I have had so many experiences here, where I've woken up, I've opened my eyes, I've felt the wind on my face from the ceiling fan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I scripted this. I've created this. I walk into my amazing kitchen, or, I'm meeting clients now in my office that I had scripted about. I was like, oh my God, I was literally meeting with a client sitting in my chair going, oh my God, I created this. Like, this is amazing. This is amazing.
How does that feel? And like having those moments where you're sitting in it, how does that, like, do you ever think you'll doubt again?
No, I mean, I keep, that trust muscle just keeps getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I love that. Isn't it the best when you're sitting in a moment that you know you created, like 100% created?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so since I've been here, I've been thinking about, well, what's next? What do I want ahead of me? What's in my future? And it's taken me a little bit of time. I'm still not clear. I feel like I had to go, or I've been in a certain kind of incubation period almost. It's just sort of a quiet time, enjoying all that I have here.
Yeah.
But I feel myself unfolding. I feel myself opening up, and I know there's more to come, and the clarity is going to come, even if I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
It's cool. And actually, since that revelation, I think that revelation's been coming for a while now, but I've been getting some new opportunities that have crossed my path, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
some things are happening.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So I want to touch on really quick, because I love this story, but I think one of the most important things for somebody who is like an overthinker and wanted to always control the how is like how you got your new career, like how that came about.
Oh, yeah. Right, because that happened when I was working with you too.
And I love because that was
I remember getting frustrated. It's like I had a job that I didn't like, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I wanted to know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So
you really wanted to know. Like I want to know, right?
Exactly. I needed to figure it out so I could figure out how I was going to do it.
Right.
And even working with you, I believe I explored a number of different things.
Will you say the difference you think between, I love that you use the word explore because you explored them without jumping into them.
Oh yeah, but I wanted to.
I know you did. I 100% know you did.
I don't even remember how it came to me. But
I love that.
Yeah, coaching and nutrition have always piqued my curiosity anyway. And I think it just came into my brain one day that why don't you go back to what has interested you in the past? Why don't you explore what it would look like to be a health coach? And I started talking to people, started talking to you, and it was great because you just sort of mirrored back to me some things I could consider or think about. Are you trying to control the how? Are you inspired? That kind of thing. And I thought, yeah, you know what? This is coming from a very comfortable, internal, inspired place. And so I started looking into, well, that also, that whole story. Like once I made that decision, some things happened along the way that were sort of interesting. I found a program that I thought was perfect. Everything on paper sounded exactly the way I wanted it. I could study at home at my own pace. And as I was exploring something else online, I saw another program and I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. Well, I wonder what that's all about. Got the first program in the mail. It was like a correspondence class. Started reading the books and they were nothing like what I wanted to do. Like just, I can't even explain it. I'll just leave it at that. So I went into this, checked out this other woman who was doing some amazing things. And I'm like, that's better. and I talked to someone, and as I asked questions, the answers were just resonated with me so clearly that I asked for my money back from that first program. I didn't get much back, but I'm like, that's okay. That's okay, because this is so much better. And I realize I'm not explaining it very well, but the whole path of getting to what was perfect for me was an unfolding process.
Yeah. And I love that you couldn't remember in the beginning, because I think so many people think like, oh, when I figure it out, it's going to be like lightning strikes, right?
Yeah, no,
it
it wasn't
the
like that.
opposite, right? And I love that you used the word comfortable, because that's what it was. It was like one day you came on the call and you're like, hey, I got this hit this weekend, and then I just started exploring, and now I'm on the path, right? There was no jump, there was no drama, there was no like, oh my gosh, this is it, right? It was just like,
That's true. Yeah.
oh yeah, this is it. And so I love that, because I do think that people think it's a lightning bolt, or it's like, the spotlights come on and are like, this is, and I think you were actually looking for that, to be honest, at some point in us working together, right? You wanted the lightning bolt hit of, this is what you should do. Like, this is what I should do. Right. And
here's what I've learned is that it's a feeling of like hairs on the back of my neck, or there's an excitement in my body when it just feels right. It's like a tingly sensation.
Yeah.
It's a physical expression or manifestation when I know that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
It's subtle. And I'm positive I have had those feelings throughout my life and just ignored them.
Yeah.
And now I've learned to listen to them.
I love that you said that and pointed that out, because that's so true. Yeah. And I think everyone has them. Like, mine feels a little bit different. It just feels almost like I got to just step forward into it. It's like I like me, like it's the thing that's like, yeah. Right.
Leaning
but it's
in.
Yeah. It's like when I feel myself go, yep, that's, not trying to, but it's like, this is the answer. Right. And I even, now I've got sort of a big thing brewing, and it's calm and it's comfortable, and it's an amazing opportunity. And yet it's just kind of like flatline, right? There's no big spike in energy. It's like, yep. Okay. Yep. That'll happen. And so I love that you shared that.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Anything else you want to, I'm going to definitely ask you what advice you would give somebody who feels like they know it's possible, but they just feel frustrated because they haven't been able to get results.
Invest in yourself, because you're worth it. And when you invest in yourself, you will be able to serve others better than you ever have before. So don't serve everyone else and put yourself last. Put yourself first, and you will be able to serve better.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
That was a hard lesson for me to learn. That did not come easily.
Yeah.
At all. But it's important. It's really important.
And it's a game changer.
Because being alone, and I would still be stuck inside my head if I hadn't invested in me to work with you. And I would still be getting the same limiting results.
And now you get to live in your beautiful house. Like I know the house. It was so funny. You're like walking me around it. I'm like, yeah, I've been here because I read your scripts, right? And like, it's so gorgeous. So tell everybody where they can find you if they want. They're like felt that whisper for holistic health coaching, and they love your energy and who you are.
Thank you. My website is jennifer-hooper.com. Make sure you put the dash, it's a hyphen, in between my first and last name, because if you don't, you're going to go to a website about snakes. Go figure.
Right?
Whatever that means.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yay. Well, thank you for sharing your story and your journey today. I love it.
You're welcome.
Remember jennifer-hooper.com if something stood up on the back of your neck or something popped into your head when you heard holistic life coaching and of
Health
course
coaching.
health coaching. Sorry. Who wouldn't
Oh, you can't do one without the other.
That's so true, right? Like it's holistic.
Yes, holistic coaching. We can just leave it at that.
Yeah. And if you just love Jennifer and her energy and something called you, like answer the call. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your story. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of More Money.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn the step-by-step process to welcome more money into your life, go to manifest10k.com.